Here we go, boys. Feels good. All right, I limped at home and I'm running out of light and also patience, but here's what I found. Tore it apart, and you can see my brake lines are here wrapped in this gold heat wrap. If you peel it back, you can see the damage there, and I suspect that's where the line's broken at. You can see the trail of oil, brake fluid I should say, down the downpipe here where it gets super dark. So we are definitely leaking brake fluid onto the downpipe, but as you can see, this heat shrink, or this heat wrap, is just all sorts of damaged. So I've been putting this off as long as possible, but I think it's time to relocate the ABS where the battery is, put the battery in the trunk so I don't have these kinds of problems. I've always been nervous about it being so close to my turbo here, especially once I get it on track. You know, that it'll definitely boil my fluid, so looks like that's the next step. So probably gonna be waiting on some parts, and I'll make a full video on how to DIY relocate the battery and the ABS in the IS300. Welcome back to the Race Car and Chill YouTube channel. As you guys saw in the last video, my brake line here is rubbed through on the downpipe. So I want to get rid of the brake lines from getting that close to the downpipe. So we're going to relocate the brake lines, because as you can see, they come to my ABS block. I want to put this ABS block right here, up out of the way. That way my brake lines can come straight up here and not have to go down by the downpipe. To do that, we're gonna have to relocate the battery. We're gonna put that in the trunk. This is gonna be a couple day process. I just wanna get it started today so I can figure out what kind of parts I need to order. But once we move the battery out of the way, I bought the IS300 ABS relocation kit from Finishing Lines. I got it used off of a Facebook group. But as you can see, they're just some hoses. I like that they're black. I don't want it to stand out too much. But we're gonna replace all the factory hard lines with those. So I also got an Altezza right-hand drive ABS bracket that's supposed to put it over here somewhere. I'm not sure if I'll be able to use this or not. We'll see where the bracket puts it. I may have to build my own custom bracket to put the ABS where I want it, because I want the ABS here, and I also want to relocate my catch can that's down here, up here as well. That way I can get rid of all this plumbing. It'll clean up the whole engine bay quite a bit. So let's get started. First things first, I'm gonna take the battery out of the way. Okay, I got the two 10 mils off to take the battery out, and I still don't see the obvious position of where this bracket goes. I think I need to take this battery tray out. So I'll do that next. It's also just a couple 10 mils. And then after that, I'm gonna you can see my wiring is kind of tucked up on these brake lines. I'm gonna cut these zip ties and pull the wiring out of the way, kind of expose the brake lines so I can put my brake lines under there. And then after I put the new brake lines on, I'll wrap my wiring on top of the brake lines. We'll tuck everything up real nice and clean, but right now it's a mess. And we're gonna have to make it into a much bigger mess before we can clean it up. But you can see I've got my wideband here, and then I've got another one down there as well. One's for the AEM and one's for, I've got a separate gauge, which I could delete one of them, but anyway, I like a fail-safe. All right, I went ahead and took this fuse box out of the way too. It's just 310 mils as well right here, just to give myself some more room so I can see what I'm working with here on the brake lines. And then I started to, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna label all these lines. That way I don't mix them up when I go to reassemble them. But I'm gonna start taking this apart. As you can see right now, it's not really even mounted. It's kind of just floating in place. But yeah, I took these two electrical connectors off. You just squeeze these in, they're pretty easy. Help yourself with a screwdriver. And then this harness, I'm gonna have to move it all the way up over here. But as you can see, my boost control solenoid is kind of held onto it. So I'm gonna have to relocate that, and then I'm gonna peel this harness back carefully and try to make it look as clean as possible. So that's what I'll do next. Okay, so this is a little trickier than I was expecting it to be, but I've started cutting away at all the electrical tape here. I suggest using a new razor The sharpness will help you here. Be very careful. But I started cutting away at the plastic wrapping, and a lot of this is electrical tape as well. Then there was 2 spots where this harness here, this harness here was kind of clipped into the chassis, and of course I dropped that one with one of these. And all it was is this plastic flat piece right here is taped to the harness like this, and then it's just clipped into here. There was one of them was right here, and the other one was right here, and it's just taped like this. So I just cut the tape off of this. These are simple. You just kind of, with a screwdriver, squeeze in there and pry them out. So I just wanted to document that before I got too far away. Kind of just gonna work my way back, and as you can see, this is the harness for the ABS module. So I don't need to peel it too far back, but what I think I'll do is I'll peel it all the way back here and then coil it under. That way it'll be a little prettier than what we're currently working with. Alright, so this was actually a lot trickier than I thought. As you can see, this stuff just falls apart. Look at all this tape that I had to take off of. The whole thing is basically wrapped in tape. So anyway, I split this, I pulled this harness out. I'm gonna take the opportunity to, while I'm here, tuck, these are my boost control and intake air temp sensor lines. I'm gonna tuck these into this harness, kind of clean this whole thing up a little bit. Here is where the ABS wires kind of get a little confused, or they get like wrapped up in the rest of the harness here, so it was tricky. Took a lot of patience to get it unwrapped this far, but it gets even trickier after this. So I just cut a little square out in this wrapping here, let the wires go out, and I'll do something with them there. But that's kind of how I think I'll leave it. Again, I'll tuck these wires in. All right, I'm gonna call the wiring good for now. Let's start getting these lines labeled here. Alright, so I kind of got to work and put the camera down. I'm really bad at documenting this stuff, but anyway, I got the ABS module out of the way. One thing I should have said before I even started, drain your brake fluid, because it's a really inconvenient mess in here. I did make a mess. I sprayed everything down with brake cleaner. I'll probably do it again once I'm all done. But so yeah, I got all the lines off of the ABS module, kind of cleaned. I tried to clean it up a little bit. I got this labeled here as well. And then here's how it sits in the ABS bracket. Seems pretty legit, but it still doesn't make sense to me. I need to look up some diagrams on how it mounts in that location, because it just doesn't make sense. But, so I guess next thing I'm gonna do is, I also took off these like line, they kind of hold the lines in place. The lines just kind of clip into them. I took them off. I might reuse them. I mean, this one's pretty toasted, but we'll see what I can do for my cable/line management. But I want to kind of tuck it up against the firewall and try to have it as clean as possible. I can't wait to get rid of all this stuff. It's gonna have so much room in here. But now I guess I'm just gonna start taking the lines out one by one and replacing them with the, actually, I was looking at these. I want to clean these up before I install them. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but there's a little bit of corrosion just from sitting right here and on the threads as well. So I'm gonna grab some steel wool, maybe a wire brush to clean these threads up, just because I don't want to have any brake leaks after I do this. So I'm gonna go through and clean all these up before I actually install them. I'll probably blow some compressed air through these lines too. I will be doing a brake flush later on, so I'm not worried about the moisture, but we're just picking at it slowly. All right, there's already so much more room over here. I'm loving it, but here's the current situation. I still have the brake lines labeled, but I started pulling them all out just in bulk. It's just not convenient to do it. So I think what I'll do is I'm just gonna pull them all, and then I'm just gonna run them separately, and I'll look up a diagram on where on the ABS block they should be fitting. But I thought it would be cool to show you guys where the brake line broke. If it doesn't focus, I'm using a GoPro. I don't think it will focus, but I'll insert a picture, but check it out. That's where it rubbed a hole in my brake line. It was rubbing up against my downpipe, so I'm glad we caught that before it got really bad. Could have definitely set the car on fire that way. All right, I'm running out of time, so this is where we're gonna call it today. I pulled out most of the lines, the last 2 or 3. I need to get under the car to disconnect the other side of them. But Yeah, so I can't even start mocking up where I'm gonna put this ABS module because I don't know. Like, ideally I'd want it, you know, in this corner, probably something like this, but I don't know if my lines will reach, because basically I need to run the new lines to the master cylinder to over here and see how much slack I'm gonna have in those lines to see where exactly I can put it, and then I'm gonna probably end up building a bracket. I don't like this Altezza one. I couldn't figure it out, and also the module doesn't necessarily bolt to the bracket. It kind of just sits into it, so I'm not stoked on that because the goal is to road race this car, so I don't want anything loose. And then while I'm here, I noticed here's my ground, and it goes under the turbo. It's routed like under the turbo and then comes to the block here. So I think I'm gonna reroute that and just have it come straight to the chassis here, now that I'm gonna have all this space. Obviously I'm still gonna have an air filter that comes up here, but yeah, I just want a better ground there. That way it's not going under the turbo. Who knows what it's touching down there. And yeah, better grounds will obviously, we'll have to move the battery to the trunk. And I think I decided I'm going to delete my spare tire because I run aftermarket wheels anyway, and a spare tire is not really gonna do me much good. And the car doesn't usually leave the city anyway. If it does, I can throw a spare in the trunk. But yeah, I'm out of time, so I'm gonna start putting some tools away, but this is kind of where we're leaving it for the day. My homework is to, basically, I gotta clean the lines off next. That way we can mock them up and see where exactly I can put the bracket. And we'll go from there. Peace. Okay, so it's the next day. We're making some progress. I got the parts ready. First of all, we got a crimper here, so we could crimp this big boy cable and these crimps. Everything I bought is off of Amazon, and I will include the links in the description below if you guys want to use the same setup. These are the parts I'm using for my battery relocation though. First, I bought 15 feet of 1 gauge wire. I know the GoPro won't focus on the details, but it's super soft and flexible. And 1 gauge is probably a little bit overkill, but because I'm running the AEM Infinity, it's very sensitive to voltage drops, so I don't want to have any issues with it. So we'll go overkill on the wiring. That's going to go to the trunk. Here's the distribution block that we're going to put in the bay. You got one input and 3 outputs. I only need 2 of them, so one of them will be an extra just in case down the line we want to add power to something. 10 of these crimps, I guess. Like I said, we'll do a 250 amp circuit breaker as well in the trunk. This will be by the battery. Also bought off of Amazon. And then to clean up the wiring a little bit, I got some clamps so we can use these for the power, and I might even use them for the brake lines. Here's the brake line kit we're using. This is the finishing lines kit. Comes with all of the lines that are pre-measured, pre-cut, and pre-bent. As you can see, this is straight. This is 90 degree. So we'll run some of these lines today. And then I had to also replace my front lines. I had to cut them out of the way because when I was taking them off, they got stripped. So I will be using the StopTech brake line kit, also bought off of Amazon. The link will be in the description below. Here's a stock ABS block and a Altezza right-hand drive bracket. This bracket, again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it. I'm missing the parts that actually bolt in here and hold the module in place, and my Nothing Special battery that's going to be going in the trunk. I haven't figured out a mounting solution just yet. We'll figure that out once we get there. I'm either going to put it in the corner, like in the fender, or I'm going to delete the spare tire and put this where the spare tire goes, depending on how the space goes back there. But yeah, the engine bay is ready to go as well. I think I'm going to put it's gonna be hard to see down here. I'm gonna put the battery tray back in place so that way I have something to mount the ABS bracket to. But before I do that, I'm gonna get rid of this ground wire. This ground wire essentially goes under the harness, under the turbo, and comes to the block here. So I'm gonna replace it. I'm gonna take this off and then just ground it straight to the chassis here, since the ground's getting moved to the trunk. So hopefully that'll give me a better ground. Okay, so I had a little bit of confusion on which lines to use because I don't know if Finishing Lines labels them when you get them, buy them directly from them. I got this kit used, but the straight lines are always going to end up being at the wheels. So the ABS block is going to get all of the 90s, and then there's 2 lines that are the exact same length, or they're like an inch or 2 away from each other. These are the ones that are going to go to the rear of the car. So I've labeled all of my lines here, and then I'm going to you know, RR for right rear. Once I get them all run, I'm gonna just run them to the general spot where it's gonna be. I haven't mounted the ABS bracket yet, but yeah, so the two that are the same length are going to the rear of the car, which the rear, oh God, the rear is, to show you guys where those lines go, we'll get under the car, and if you follow these two lines, there's a union right there. I'm trying to show you guys. Oh, I just had brake fluid drip on my face. Oh, that's nice. You can see where my finger is. I can't tell if it's focused on or not, but that's where the two lines go from the front to the back. So you got to run them kind of by the firewall to here to take them off. They're 10 mils. And then, yeah, the longest line you have is going to go down to your front left, because it's going to go all the way down this way. The shortest line you're going to have is going to be the front right, because it just goes straight through there. There's a rubber grommet.
Yeah, found it.
And then you'll have two lines that go to the master cylinder as well. They're going to be a similar length. One of them is going to have a 90 on both sides. Let me show you what that looks like. So a 90 on one end, and it's like a 45 on the other end. 45 and a 90. And then the other one's going to be a straight one with a 90 on one end. The straight side is going to go on the lower side of the master cylinder down here, and the 90 is going to go up here, and it'll just kind of get snaked that way. So yeah, that's what we're going to do now. First, we're going to run all of our ABS lines to the back. And then I also noticed, while I got you guys here, the bleeder, you can't see it on my ABS block, but it's completely clogged. So I'm going to take it off and clean it up real good. And then I think I'm going to add a second hose to move this bleeder, you know, like a foot of, I'm going to add about a foot of hose so I can move this bleeder and have access to it when my ABS module is buried in there, so I can bleed it without having to take apart anything. One thing I got to show you guys as well is these rubber grommets that are between the bay and the chassis. They're a little too tight to let this hose through, so I had to cut it, just so you guys are aware. You're gonna have to slice it as well. It's a new day. Got a couple hours to work on the car, so we're gonna do it. Last time I worked on it, I cleaned up, I got all the lines ran actually, and I cleaned up, I spent honestly like an hour just cleaning up a bunch of wiring over there. You can hardly tell right now, but it will look a lot better once I'm done. That's a long story. Long story short, I just cleaned up wires. So next thing I want to do today is now I know I've got enough slack to basically put these lines wherever I want, or the ABS module. So I guess the next thing I need to do is put my battery tray back on, and then I'm gonna run the wire to relocate the battery. That way I can see where I'm gonna mount my distribution block and stuff here up against the firewall. So yeah, I'll just mount the ABS bracket last. That way I know exactly where I want it. So let's run some power. I guess first things first is we're gonna take apart the interior, and we'll start there. So I'm gonna have the power wire run through the firewall here in that rubber grommet, kind of down through here, and then I'm gonna take the seat out to run the cable back there. So these things just pop right out. All the plastics do. And if you're lucky, you won't break the clips. And then same thing with this one. This one, there's a little nut back there. I know it's gonna be hard to see. I don't even have it on mine, so. This thing also, it's got a clip right here. And then you pull it straight out, straight back. There's that nut on the back I was talking about. It's a plastic nut that you don't need a tool for it. But if it's too tight and you do need a tool, it's 10 mil, and it sits just on a stud back there. So I'm gonna run this wire kind of here under my carpet. I'm gonna pull the carpet. If you lift it straight up, you can see it's got like a little bracket it hooks into. So you kind of gotta lift it straight and even push it out a little bit. And you can see there's a chassis harness that already goes through here, so we can put our cable right next to that. This bad boy also just pops right out. There we go. You can see the plastic connectors it has. Okay, so there's where our power wire will get routed through. For the seat, the back seats, so it's a two-part seat. You got the bottom and the back. The bottom, if you grab it, if you kind of just run your finger in here, you'll feel where the bracket's at. And at the bracket, you just want to lift straight up. And they pop right out. There's one here and one here on this side. I need to put the camera down and get it, but after you get the seat out of the way, let me just do it and show you. Okay, once you get the bottom seat popped out, there's 4 12mm bolts right here. 1, 2, 3, and the other one's in the other corner, right in the same spot that you need to take out. Once you take those 4 12s out, the back seat, you can leave the seat belts on, you just kind of gotta route them out of the way. These clips, to get these out, they're kind of tricky, but this is how it works. The other side's broken, so these are fragile, careful. But yeah, so once you get it out and once you get the seat belts out of the way, the seat has to come up before it comes out. Basically, it's got a hook on the back and it kind of latches onto the rear firewall, whatever you want to call it. So it's got to come up and then you can pull it out. Damn. All right, once the back seat is out, you got this little flap here. You can see there's a hole right there, a nice big one, so we're not even gonna have to drill any holes. I went ahead and I took all the carpets out of the trunk, and this fender liner piece right here, it's just got a bunch of those plastic, these guys, the plastic things. You get yourself a pry tool, preferably a trim removal tool, because they are brittle and they tend to break. I like to have just a bag of them laying around because I break them all the time, so it's nice to replace them when I do break them. But there's the hole from the other side, so running the wire is going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to go down through there, come up here, and I think I'm going to mount the battery like this right here, and then I'm going to cut my carpet around, cut the battery out of the carpet. That way we can have it just looking nice. And then there's a bolt hole here that I can build a bracket for it, just a simple piece of metal. So I think that's how we're gonna do it. And then I can even put my disconnect switch like here or here somewhere. So yeah, that's how we're gonna do it. I guess the next step is to start running some cable. I'm gonna start from the back and run it all the way through the car this way. And then I'll get a clothes hanger and pop it through this rubber grommet here. You can see there's this, I don't know what this wire's for. I assume maybe like a stereo, or I have no idea. But I'm gonna poke a hole through the grommet instead of like they went around the grommet with this little cord here. So I'm gonna poke a hole through the grommet and then snake that big ass wire through. Okay, I got my clothes hanger bent out and poked it through the hole there. Got it electrical taped on the other side. See what happens. Hopefully this doesn't fight me too much. Fail. Gotta do a better tape job. I think this hole needs to be bigger too. All right, let's try this again. I'm gonna cut a little slit this time. I'm gonna have to put the camera down to do that. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Like a glove. All right, so I got the wire run. I screwed my distribution block here to the firewall as well, and it's got a little cap that goes on top of it. But this will be nice because I'll have a spot to jump start my car under the hood if I wanted to. And then I got some ties for this, that once I figure out exactly how I want it, we will screw it into place. Next, we'll install a battery tray. I also ran a line under the carpet. I threw this interior back on too, just to make sure that it fits, because that cable's pretty thick. But the interior can pretty much get put back together. And this is what I came up with. I know this is super dirty. I may or may not have driven it on a dirt road. But yeah, so I think I'll mount my breaker here, maybe up here. Yeah, I think I'll do it here, and then have this go to the breaker, and then from the breaker to the battery. And then I think I'm gonna ground it. I'm gonna probably use this hole. No, actually I'm gonna use this hole, because this I'm gonna make a battery bracket for, or a mount to hold this down. All right, so my camera died and I went inside to go plug it in, and I continued working, and by the time the camera was charged, I kind of made some progress. So here's some pictures of what the battery looks like in the trunk. This is before I installed the carpet, and then after I installed the carpet, this is what it looks like. This is pretty much the final form. All I have to do is create a bracket for it so it can get strapped down to the chassis. That way I can pass tech at the track. Welcome back. It's another day. Gentlemen, this process is taking a little bit longer than I expected it to, because here's the battery tray. I can't figure out exactly it. I can't figure out a simple ABS bracket. So here's what I did. It's a battery tray, right? Gets bolted into the chassis like this. Or no, it's like this. This is the firewall side. I 3D printed a bracket. So check it out. This is how it sits in the bracket, and then kind of like the OEM style. There you go. Got another one for the other side, but that's basically the bracket, and then the bracket will get drilled to the battery tray, just like so. I had some help from my friend who designed this thing. I made a rough draft and he saw it and he's like, dude, let me help you. So he helped, but this thing is solid. It's super strong actually. I printed it with 80% infill and it's so strong. So yeah, let's drill some holes in here, get this mounted up, and then see what it looks like in the bay. Bam, there it is. Let's see how it fits. Like a glove. Oh, that's sick. Oh yeah, that's gonna look good. And that leaves me plenty of room. I'll still have 2 hoses coming out here and a bleeder, but that leaves me enough room here for a catch can, I think. Cool. So 3D printed bracket is the way to go. These are for sale. I think there's gonna be one more design revision, and then I need to print it out of a different material so it can withstand the heat. But once I print it with the other material, it'll be good for over 200 degrees Celsius. So pretty sure the battery tray would melt before the bracket did at 200 degrees. But yeah, I'll give you guys more info once I'm ready for that. But this is how we're gonna mount it up. All right, boys, so next thing, I'm gonna figure out my carpet and breaker situation back here. I'm not sure if I wanna put this like here, or I don't think I want it here, but I need it somewhere next to this battery. So yeah, but before I do that, I wanna trim my carpet up so I can fit it in there with the battery. So I need to make a box out of it, cut a box out of it here. All right, I put the camera down because it needed a charge and I kept working, but forgot to show you guys. This is my crimping tool that a friend Cody of mine let me borrow. But definitely, when you're working with wire this thick, you need a crimp tool. Look how clean this came out though. It's perfect. I shoved the wire in there too, and then we'll put some heat shrink on it. Oh, that's gonna be tricky with one hand. So heat shrink's a tight fit with that connector, but it'll reach. Or it'll fit. All right, before I got any farther, I wanted to tell you guys I got some more parts. As you can see, I got some, this is just regular like sleeving. I'm gonna hide some of the brake lines in it, clean up some of the wiring, just some generic stuff. And then I got some heat shrink, random, I got like a variety pack of miscellaneous different sizes. So I'll put the links in the description for all this stuff. Some more fittings for the electrical. So I'm making some progress on this. Let me grab the light. And it's obviously nighttime. I'm working and I didn't have the camera out, but I started making a lot more progress than I was expecting to. So I want to show you guys some stuff before I get too far. You can see I cleaned up some of the electrical stuff. So got all these wires that were just ugly, different colors going all over the place. I got them all loomed up here, taped into the loom, and then here's the brake lines. I'm gonna loom these up too. Got some heat shrink on there to kind of hold them together, and it's not heated yet. I'm gonna put the loom under that heat shrink, and it'll look super legit. And you know, just wanted to show you guys what I was doing before I actually get it done, because I'm so much more productive with the camera off. It's incredible. I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some parts tomorrow morning before we can finish up, but I'm gonna keep working tonight. Gonna hide that orange cable, take it off and put it in some loom as well. Kind of just button it up odds and ends, doing stuff that's not fun to watch but needs to get done. So that's what we're doing tonight. Another beautiful Sunday afternoon, wrenching on the Turbo IS. I'm hoping to get the car running today. I'm making progress off camera. I wanted to film a little something before I get too far along the process. But here is my ABS bracket, 3D printed, and it's bolted to the actual battery tray. So this is legit, it's not going anywhere. I'm ready to start buttoning up my lines. I just blew all the lines through. They're all disconnected at the calipers. I took my calipers apart. I got the bleeders right here getting all cleaned out. That way I can definitely bleed it once I get it all put back together. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys kind of how I cleaned up the electrical last night. Stayed up late doing that. And then I'm gonna sleeve all these ABS lines as well, so they'll look just like this once I'm done here. And then maybe we'll do these catch can lines and put the catch can right here too. We'll see. I'm just trying to make videos, keep you guys updated before I get too far. My friend Chow and Seth are here. Seth's got the sick GTE swapped IS300, also AR5 transmission. So I'm gonna make a dedicated video just for his car. And then you guys have seen Chow's drift car as well. Back to work. Okay, Seth has been a huge help. We got the brake system put in. I just need to tidy these lines up a little bit, but I wanted to put brake fluid in it and make sure there's no leaks in it before I do that. Here is the diagram. So I forgot my car is a 2001. I found a diagram online that I'll post right now. This diagram I'm showing you right now is for 02 and up. For 01s, I am fortunate enough to have another parts car there. It's not even a parts car, it's a complete car, but so we routed the lines. The line here that's by these returns, that goes to the master, and it's gonna be what I call the top part of the master. The lower part of the master, that line, is, I believe, this one. Right here, the one closest to the bleeder. The one to the left of that is front left, right here. This one on the corner is gonna be rear left, right here. This one's gonna be right rear. And this one is right front. It just goes straight down into this one. And I think we're ready to start it, so let's see if it starts. It's been sitting for a while. I bet you this battery's probably dead, but let's give it some juice. It's the wrong keys. All right. Whoa, look at that. Why are my wheels turning? It's in neutral. The wheels are turning in the back. It's in neutral. Does that mean my clutch is not disengaging? Does it go faster if I rev it up? That's not good. Weird. That's not good. Started right up though. It's still obviously not put together. Got to put the intake on it. My intercooler, you can't see it, but that pipe is dirty as fuck, so I want to take this pipe off and clean it out before I put it back together. Boys, a ton of progress has been made on the car. Obviously it's night out. Got the engine cover back on. I got the turbo blanket back on. I kind of got very far and realized I hadn't been filming, so bear with me. But I'm not sure if I ever showed you guys the ground I made. I did a 0 gauge. This is the original, well actually, this is where my original ground was, but I think on a factory IS it's different. Anyway, this is where my ground is going. Got a nice 0 gauge wire, and that's right there to the chassis. I sanded it down, heat shrinked it, wrapped it, made it look all proper. Check out the plumbing here. My ABS bracket, or obviously my ABS lines, I mean. I tried to, you know, keep it as clean as possible. I also relocated my catch can. So it's got short runs now instead of the long hoses going all, like snaking all the way down. It used to be right here. So I'm hoping that'll help my smoking issue. I also put 2 like packages of steel wool inside of this thing because I opened it up and it was just bone dry. So I don't think it does anything. I don't think it's very effective. Hopefully the steel wool will help it be more effective. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this came out. Look at all this wiring. I kind of re-sleeved it. I sleeved the hoses, the PVC hoses, PCV hoses as well. And then I didn't sleeve this one because this is, I don't think I'm gonna keep this catch can, so I'm probably gonna redo all this plumbing. But yeah, so I just need to basically bolt down this fuse box and put the air filter on, put the wheels on. I should be able to drive it. We bled the brakes. I drove it in the air, as you guys saw. The brakes are working. Hopefully they don't feel different on the road, but we're pretty much ready to drive this thing. It's been a long time coming, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. This is so much cleaner than it used to be. I know it looks like a mess, but trust me, it was so much worse. You guys saw, so that's where we're at. I think this engine cover just cleans everything up so much because it hides a bunch of clutter. I still want to relume these wires over here too. Kind of make everything black and try to keep it as clean looking as possible. But this side of the bay is looking real good now. Another thing I forgot to note, I also picked up some more material so we can add this to the parts list that I used. Part number, there it is, yada yada yada. If you guys care, it's DEI Easy Loom heat protectant, and really I only used it for, let's see if I can get you guys the light. You see, if you follow this line right here, you'll see that it gets kind of close to the exhaust there. So I want to heat wrap the downpipe, but I just don't have the patience and time right now, so we're gonna send it as it is and save that as a project for another day. But yeah, bam boys, it's about 11 p.m. Wheels are on the car. I just jumped the Prius. I'm about to open the gate up, move the Prius, I mean, put the IS back on the ground and take it for a test drive. Sorry neighbors, this is happening. Alright boys, I know you probably can't see much, but the purpose of this video is not so you guys can see stuff, but so you can hear stuff. I have no idea what I'm aiming at. Hopefully you can see something. The car's almost up to temperature. Let's take it around the block. And it's been like 2 months since I've driven this thing. I feel like I forget how to drive cars that are stick. This one's not really that easy to drive, so. I'm still testing the brakes. I don't know, if I've let them right or not. Through the neighborhood, they feel fine, but I haven't gone faster than like 15, 20 mile an hour, so. Before we have any fun, we'll make sure the brakes are good. Are good. I think my blow-off valve's not working though. Actually, my turbo's not working either. Probably popped the coupler or something. Oh shit, I definitely did. I forgot to tighten them at the throttle body. Damn, well that was short-lived. Good thing we stayed close. Back to the house. Alright, let's try that again. Hope you guys can see something. A little more spool there. All right, I think we're in business. That's the sound I miss. Brakes feel good. Also, like, I got shit all up in my car, so this is just a quick test drive. Oh yeah, buddy. party. And that's all the room we got, folks. Damn, sounds good though. Here we go, boys. Feels good. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Damn, that gets your blood rushing. Temps are looking good. Everything sounds good, feels good. I hope I'm not jinxing it. Brakes still work, pedals still hard. Little second gear pull here. Probably click third too. Let's go to the access road. Nah, fuck it. Second. Woo-hoo, baby. Third gear. Oh, I love that sound. One more time. Hell yeah. Well, we're almost home. So I think we're gonna drop this video off here. Thanks for watching, boys. The ABS relocation and battery relocation, I would say, was a great success. I also relocated the catch can, as you guys saw. It's late at night, so I can't tell if I'm still puffing smoke on my shifts, but I'm hoping the catch can helps solve that. I guess I'll let you know in the next video, or 2 or 3. But yeah, this has been a long time coming. The car was down for like almost 2 months. So this video pretty much took like 2 months to make. So working on it like 1 day a week, if that. There's weeks I skipped. There's weeks where I worked 2-3 days on it, but most of the time I'd work on it for a couple hours and then stop because that's all the time I had, or I needed parts or something. But yeah, I got her going. That's why I was trying to hopefully put the parts list for you guys, so you don't have to do what I had to do, so you can have all the parts ready for you. But all right, boys, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.